Greetings my friends, and welcome to a brand new nations guide, and today we're going to be looking at the Persian Empire. Now we are fast approaching where we have almost completed all of the nations guides. We've still got quite a few to go, but we are on the sort of the latter side of it, and I really wanted to get another one out. I'm trying to increase the sort of speed, as it were, of putting out the nations guides, and I'm also looking to increase some other things as well coming along in the future. But today we're going to be looking at Persia. Now I'll be absolutely confess, I have never played Persia in the campaign. Of course, Persia now, as it is now, is latter-day Iran. And it does have, as you can see, straight away you can see it has a huge geographical place within the sort of subcontinent, moving sort of into the sort of Middle East. It does have a huge presence, it really does. But that land is, if dare I say, sparse in terms of what it provides in terms of wealth and in terms of its natural resources. And as you can see here, you start off with Kabul, you have Baluchistan, you have sort of the capital here, Esfahan here of Persia, and then of course you've got Azerbaijan here as well. So we'll be looking at how you can maximize what you have as the Persians, your allies, your enemies. We'll be looking at where you can expand, whom to look out for, how you can sort of increase your trade, how you what sort of forces you have available to you, your income. We were looking at every aspect as we possibly can here to try and give anybody who would wish to look at starting a Persian campaign, and that includes myself. I haven't, so I will be doing this from somebody who would, if I was going to sort of attempt this campaign, of where I would sort of look at and what I would be looking to do. So that's where we're going to come. That's the perspective we're coming from. So let's first of all, as I said, let's start at what we sort of the lands we have, the regions we have available to us. So as I said, we've got Azerbaijan here, right in the north here, and then of course right down in sort of the east here, the northeast, dare I say, is Kabul, Afghanistan. Now, as you can see, Afghanistan, a huge area, a huge landmass here, but with very few resources available to it. We have here, right in the Buldak here, we have a farmland. Then you have here a Balka, which is a farmland. Please excuse any pronunciations, my friends. Please excuse my pronunciations, which are, as many of you know, who've been here for a long time, are horrific, to say the least. And then you have Kabul, of course. Then you've got this Fort Peshawar here, which is a really excellent fort here. Now, these forts can prove pivotal. As you can see, the forts are usually tactically placed. So, in other words, it provides sort of this circumference here of sort of defence. So any army, let's just suppose, for example, that the Mughal Empire sort of decided to attack from Lahore and went straight up the road here to sort of the Kabul-Lahore road, try to strike immediately for Kabul. As you can see here, this fort would stand in its way right on the doorstep here of the Mughal Empire. It's there for a reason, and that is to try and stop anybody moving against Kabul itself. Now, that is not to say that, of course, it can be bypassed, but the bridges, the access to Afghanistan are limited from this region, from Punjab. As you can see, there's one access point here, just sort of north of Kanpur, and they've got this one bridge access here. That's where the fort is here. Now, as you can see, of course, the Punjab here is sort of on this sort of hill. They're looking down upon Afghanistan here, so they have a wonderful tactical advantage in terms of that. But you have a good relationship with the Mughal Empire, which we'll look at later on. But again, Afghanistan, it's not going to be one of your richest regions, let's be honest here, but tactically, strategically, it is an important region, but we'll have a look at that later as well. Then you're moving down south here, of course, you have Baluchistan here, Azerbaijan here, you have Sarbaz here, it's a farmland, and that is pretty much it. You don't have anything else. As I said, these sort of regions that tip and sort of almost meet on the subcontinent, dare we say they are on the subcontinent, are sparse, and they are barren to say the least. And we've got Kuzdar here, which possibly be a potential opening here economically eventually as the towns grow. I don't think we've got any potential ports along the coast here. Of course, you've got the Arabian Sea here, which is of course a real access point to trade if possible. We've got the trade port here, as you can possibly see. But what do we have? Actually, we didn't look at what we've got here in Kabul in terms of our resources. Of course, you've got a governor's residence. You're moving to the magistrate at the moment, which gives you levy, bowmen, and indeed dervishes. Not the finest of troops. Now, if you move to a governor's residence, which is 1,000, that's going to open up camel nomads. Now, they will provide you with some maneuverability, and that could prove beneficial in the long run. And as I said, a very very basic troops to start with. Infrastructure is probably poor, no roads at all. So infrastructure is going to be absolutely crucial within this campaign. You're going to have to focus, or if it was me in particular, the first thing I would do is to have the infrastructure build roads immediately. It only takes 2 years to build. Even the basic roads are going to provide a huge difference to what's going to happen in the rest of the campaign. You need those interlinking roads, that infrastructure to really grow your towns, grow the wealth, grow your armies eventually. And we've got an agent here as well. Oh, look at that, a scholar. Now, why the scholar is in Kabul, I am not 100% sure. I'm not even sure if we've got a school anywhere. If truth be told, I don't believe so. A large madrasa here, but if I'm not mistaken, we don't have any research facilities at all. So that's something we're going to have to look at in the future, of maybe converting some of these, perhaps a coffee house, to a school, and then this scholar here would then be sent all the way down here. Again, without roads, it's going to prove it incredibly difficult, because the only region that has, as I can see, has a road and has infrastructure is Esfahan here, Persia itself. So again, that's going to be absolutely crucial. So Kabul, very very basic infrastructure, very basic troops as well. What we mustn't do is look through this with rose-tinted glasses. Tell it as it is, my friends, and that is the way it's, that way then we can improve things substantially. As you can see, we've got the caravans here, these trade caravans. I'm not sure if we have basic infrastructure here. No, we don't. So again, basic roads would be crucial again to get that in. These are effectively no more than footpaths, and then all of a sudden you move into these basic roads. You will see this increase your trade with the Mughal Empire, because the trade is quite clearly coming through these roads here into the city and then out again into the capital. Now recruitment, again you're getting the same levy, bowmen and dervishes, and again you can move down to governor's residence. What's going to give you, same camel nomads, the same again. So Baluchistan and Afghanistan are effectively the same. You do have a farmland here, but that is all you have here, with the potential of this town here. As you can see, no village growth at all, so I'm assuming the growth is probably, growth is in the minus here, it's in the negative. So we need to change that quite rapidly. And that's going to mean increasing the income here, increasing the growth, and probably reducing the taxes as well, if I'm not mistaken, but we'll have a look at that closely in a moment. Then, as we move into the capital, the main region, the hub here of the Persian Empire, straight away you can see here we have a Bandar Abbas here, which is a trade port, which is going to prove absolutely vital. It really is going to be a key, a pivotal position within the Persian Empire, because once you start getting trade which comes in through the sea, through the Arabian Sea and the Persian Gulf, then you're going to start seeing, because eventually you're going to link up, you're going to connect with the Ottoman Empire. As you can see here, we've got the Ottoman Empire campaign here, the Ottoman Empire here. Now, if you connect into the Ottoman Empire trade lines, you're immediately tapping into one of the major nations, one of the major trader nations in the region. So straight away, you'll be tapping into their resources, their trade, their mineral wealth, and they have a vast, which stretches, of course, all the way from the Middle East right into the very tip here of the West. So again, you're going to be drawing upon all of that trade moving down through Baghdad into Basra here, and then if you connect it here, if you get trade with the Ottomans, you're immediately tapping into that wealth, which is going to prove invaluable to the empire. It really, really is. You can already see the trade moving here to and from Baluchistan and Persia into the subcontinent here, into the Mughal Empire. So straight away you're already gaining the wealth, the natural resources from what the Mughal Empire have here. And again, if and when the war with the Maratha Khwarezmi occurs, then of course you can always switch allegiances. You can always move that if the Maratha Confederacy is and becomes the dominant force here in India, then of course you can then move and change and shift with the sands, as it were, of trade. Let's have what you've got here. You've got a lot more resources here in Persia as you're starting to move further north, as you're starting to move further into the west, as it were. And then you've got Hormozgan here. I do apologise for the pronunciations here, which is a farmland. Then you've got Shiraz here, which is a coffee house. So again, possibly look at dismantling this and then turning this building that you dismantled into a school, because remember, research and development is absolutely crucial in any campaign. It's probably one of the key factors, especially when you want to get your troops up to a certain level. That's going to be absolutely vital. It really, really is. Then of course you come to the capital, Persia, Esfahan itself. Again, look at that. You're in the deficit here, the trade here, the wealth is down. It is down drastically here, so you're losing money. You do have here in Bafq mines here. Now I don't have the silent Q. Please, again my friends, please in the comments. I know that we have one or two council members from Iran, so I'd love to know what the actual pronunciation of these is. I know that Rad is one as well. I think Rad is from Iran, so I'd love to find out what the actual pronunciation for these are. Then we have Nahin farmlands here, so lots of farmlands. We also have here in Tehran the large madrasa here. I believe that we've got a few outlying villages, which of course will eventually grow once we got them. Of course we've got this Hashishin here, which is the assassin. Now he's going to prove vital to find out what's going on within the Ottoman Empire, and indeed up here as well, further north, which we will examine later on. But again, this really is a key area for development here, getting this trade up. And if we look closely, -3. It really is not looking good here in terms of what the trade is and the income here. It's pretty poor. But again, it gives you different options. You can get barracks here. Recruitment is vastly improved here. It really is. Fellahin, desert warriors, Fellahin musketeers, desert camel mercenaries, and camel nomads, guns as well, cannon guns, Shatumal camel gunners as well. So and also Zamdari pikemen or Zamindari pikemen. Excellent, it really is. I'm not a big fan of pikemen, but in certain circumstances such as this, they would prove useful. Infrastructure again is basic roads, so again you're looking to get the infrastructure up. So even though this is basic roads already, you want to get the capital moving, the main hub of the empire, up to cobble roads as quickly as possible. The army has the general here, a good general. Does he have any bonuses? He did. +1 to morale, genophobe, bloody -1, and then +2. So effectively you've got +1 morale because you're losing one here, or +2 morale, I beg your pardon, because you're losing one here. You've got some Fellahin, some desert warriors, and some Afghan hillmen. And of course you've got this agent here, another scholar. So again, bringing the scholars together. If you were to dismantle one of these buildings, coffee house would be probably the best to go for. You could put a school, you'd immediately have to bring the scholar from Afghanistan and the one in the capital straight to here, the school, and you'd immediately have 2 scholars working on your research, and you'd be able to boost your research quite quickly. That really would prove its dividends here. And then you move further north here into Azerbaijan here. But look at the change of the landscape here. You've got this huge, hilly, barren area here, these steppes here as it were. And then as you move closer to the Caspian Sea here, you see the greenery changing. You see the hills, a little hilly here. And all of a sudden, as you go past Azerbaijan, it sort of moves into more of a lush green, where the sort of the topography changes. But again, this can be useful in future if you want to place your armies tactically and strategically within these forests here, just in case, you never know. But you do have here a craft workshop, the Salian farmland here, the Tabriz workshop here, and also here you've got the Zanjan farmlands here, which really do look absolutely fantastic. So you're starting, and even here is a village here. Now I'm assuming that would effectively be either a village or a port of some type. And as you can see, you've already got trade with Dagestan here, moving along the coast road, and on the Caspian Sea coast road here with Dagestan in Chechnya. What do you have here? Again, -3. Tax burden is pretty high here, so and again, this here is dragging down the wealth. The wealth really is being affected here. So my advice would be to increase the infrastructure. Yeah, recruitment is the same, but you can get government as residency, which is going to give you the same, indeed is, but you're going to get Falahin musketeers here as well. Infrastructure, again, no infrastructure at all, so again, basic roads are going to be crucial. Getting that infrastructure up quickly is going to be crucial. Your army, oh, look at that, that's a good general. That is a good general. Plus 5% infantry, campaign movement range, and +1 to command in land battles. Now, he's a good general. That is a very, very good general indeed. So these are going to be your two principal armies here, which you want to look to build upon. Getting barracks here will actually give you Israelis and also Zamindari horsemen, and indeed Tufangis. So again, getting this upgraded, the capital upgraded, is going to allow you to start sending your troops and building up quite a steady army here. And again, moving down into here to getting cannons a shot will give you the 12 pounders. You've got the Sublime Porte, which will give you additional troops. Of course, you've got a School of Poetry which will increase happiness and research points for Enlightenment technologies and increase regional wealth. But again, that is what you have at your disposal in terms of your infrastructure, in terms of your buildings, your economy. But my advice would be to get the infrastructure up and running as quickly as possible, but also if we look at the policies here as well. Because I think the tax levels, and we'll just look closer at this, if you were to lower the tax levels for the lower classes, and indeed for these, look at that, straight away, now you started to see growth. Now your tax levels have come down, but your growth is starting to improve. That's because you've got this trickle-down effect where the more money there is in the system, because they're not paying as much tax, they have more money in their pockets, which means you're able to spend in the local economy, and so forth and so fifth. So again, that would be my advice, is to lower that tax level down, even just for the nobility. Because if the nobility the tax levels are low, then growth does improve significantly. Now, of course, let's just set them back here. If you look at that, it's got 1,783, so 1,760 for tax income, 1,302 for trade, and 1,650 for others. Army upkeep is 2,390. That is incredible for what you've got. 539 for navy, which we haven't looked at yet. There's your navy there. That's 1,783. So again, it's not a fantastic amount. And if you were to lower the tax levels here to increase growth, you're going to see 1,399. But that's not too bad. That's not too bad at all. Your trade partners are Dagestan and Mughal Empire, which is good to start. Now your ministers. Now your Sultan is neutral, but you're not getting anything from the Vakil here, the Wakil here, not a jot. So again, you've got some wonderful candidates here that you could possibly replace this gentleman with here. Stallholder, Jughead, Tactician. So also a good all-round. You can either go into the treasury or into the army, but look at the army generally, what a wonder. Then you've got Ahur Nasiri, industrial gain, good for the treasury, good for management in total. And then you've got harsh reputation, +1 to management, +1 to justice. He might be a very good head here, almost like your prime minister. Remember, it's an absolute monarchy, so you can move these gentlemen around as you see fit. That's one of the benefits of an absolute monarchy. Is you're not relying on elections. You can just move them around as you see fit. But you do have justice is not the best, so maybe perhaps this gentleman would be best for justice, because as you can see, +1 to management for justice administration. He would increase justice quite considerably. This gentleman here, no, I'd probably put this gentleman here because he's a good all-rounder into the head here, because he's got +1 for lower classes. He's only 29 as well, so he'd have a long reign. But look at the army here. He is absolute good grief. -2 for management here, +3 for management of the army. He's only 31. My goodness, look at his skill level. Absolutely incredible. Good naval, patron, and bon voyant. Treasury is oh my goodness me, capitalist and economist. I mean, economist. That is absolutely fantastic. That's one of the best I've ever seen in terms of the trade. Look at the treasury. The treasury is absolutely. If you can get trade income, you get your income coming really a trade from trade. The sky's the limit. The sky's the limit with this gentleman. It really, really is. So again, look to change your head and your justice here. Excuse me, my friends. India, of course, as I was saying, an excellent minister, Imam Hushmand. Absolutely fantastic. He's got some wonderful ministers, but I'd use this gentleman for the head here, which effectively is Prime Minister, and probably this gentleman here for justice, because they suit the roles perfectly. So we just quickly look at that. Give him probably 82%. We can probably move this gentleman into justice. Let's see what would happen. Yeah, straight away. Look at that. +1 to repression, -6 to town cost, +1 to maximum repression. If we move this gentleman into the head here, +4 diplomatic relations, +1 to town wealth. So again, straight away you're already seeing an increase here, an improvement already, which is absolutely fantastic. Of course, you can switch them out as much as you want, but you want to keep the candidates here just in case any of them don't survive, so we say. And navy upkeep is also reduced. We've got a good cabinet here. Trade, as you can see here, is with your Mughal Empire and Dagestan. Good trade values, and of course, always keep an eye on what the world market is doing, so you know what's coming in. Now, if we were to look, I think it might be prudent of us to look at. Now, I generally always start with military research, always. Now, of course, we can't research any of these yet because we don't have the facilities, but look what opens up. It opens up these 3 regiments. When you get down to, I think it's drill school, these 3 regiments will be available to you. They really are wonderful. Now, we know what barracks will give us. Drill school will give us what? Royal Infantry Guards, Quilbashi Musketeers, Quilbashi Cavalries once you've got carbines. It opens up a lot, doesn't it? Look at that. Sikh warriors. Sikh musketeers as well. I like that. What else do we get here? Royal Cairo Infantry Guards, Afghan Hillmen as well, Hindu musketeers. So it opens up some really very nice troops here. We move down to Army Vizierate. Oh, look at that. Sepoys here, an absolute brute in the charge. Native Lancers, excellent. Oh. General's bodyguards, sir. Now you start to move down. Oh, look at that. War elephants, one of my favourites. Absolutely love the war elephants. And again, Quilbashi Cavalry, of course. Royal Infantry Cavalry Guards. Once you get wedge formation. Look at the charge bonus. My goodness me, that is a brute. Islamic Swordsman. Quilbashi Royal Infantry Guard. Wow. You're getting some very elite, some very, very nice troops indeed. That is impressive, I must confess. And then ultimately Army Staff College, which is the absolute apogee here. And Elephant Musketeers. Hindu Musketeers, Hindu Warriors. Oh, Ahadis. Wow. They really look fab. Look at that. Anything else? Well, we know about those gentlemen. Tufangis, of course, war elephants. And that's it. But there's still a good complement of troops. And just to remind you, my friends, I am using the additional units mod for this Darth mod. So again, it'll be in the link in the description. It adds a lot of units to the Darth mod. Then, of course, are there any special guns or cannons we might be missing here? Mortars, 18-pounders. 24-pounders here. Yes, indeed, the 64 great gun. Look at that. Now, I had a feeling, but of course, if you notice, there's no howitzers. There are no howitzers at all. It's just cannon. Now that is going to. Now that's something to keep an eye on, my friends, because you don't have howitzers. You're not going to get that massive amount of damage, that splash damage, as it were, from these. These are just purely pounding away from a distance here. Especially the 64-pounders, which are now look at that. So you have to be aware that you're not going to get howitzers. Maybe mortars could replace the howitzers. Again, they're not going to be as mobile, but they can do a huge amount of damage. So you're going to have to adjust your tactics from the Western armies when you move into the Persian campaign here. Then of course you've got the Pasha's Palace here, then there's Sublime Porte. Again, you get the standard here. Of course, we've got School of Poetry, and we've got the settlement fortifications as well. And again, getting that up is going to be pretty vital. Now, for me personally, I would move immediately into plugged bayonets as soon as possible. Carbines will give you a Quilbashi cavalry, which I would definitely get. Even wedge formation is going to give you Royal Infantry Cavalry Guards. So it would be probably worth your while moving down into some of these, which you would normally leave. These are normally you would leave until latter stages, but wedge formation might be very, very important. Wish we're not going to get any special. Oh, look at that! African light infantry mercenaries. Quicklime shells for howitzers. But we can't. But you can look at that. If you look at this, you get carcass shot for howitzers and mortars. So in other words, this won't give you quicklime shells. It'll give you carcass. Actually, it will give you quicklime for mortars. So your mortars are effectively your default howitzers. They're not as nimble, as mobile, and as quick as the howitzers, but that they're going to have to use those. You have to adapt your army around that. And of course, moving down into maybe they're using some of the farmlands here, especially for Afghanistan and Baluchistan as well, and getting also your philosophy tree up and running here. Specific division of labour, which is going to give you commercial port. That's going to be absolutely crucial here. So that is effectively what you're looking at in terms of building your empire and your army as well. So your economy and your empire, that's something you really have to keep an eye on. Of course, you've got your navy down here as well in the Persian Gulf, but as you can see here, nothing at all that's going to give anybody any problems at all. This navy would crumble quite quickly. So it's important that you use and get the commercial port as quickly as you possibly can to get these additional ships, the 5th rate, the 6th rate, the brig, the sloop as well. What can you get from here? You can also you can get a 5th rate from here as well. So it might be worth your while getting some 5th rate ships here just to guard your port here in the sort of the. As you can see, it moves on that just point just between the two, the Persian and the Arabian Sea, and the Persian Gulf. But let's now look at where you can possibly expand, where your enemies are going to come from. Now, what we've already got is we've got peace here with the Mughal Empire, and I'm assuming you can get the Ottoman Empire on side as well. They're unfriendly though, -45, so you've got to be careful there. That could be a problem for you. But if you get trade with them, that might tip this into sort of indifferent territory. They might leave you alone, but they could be a potential enemy for the future, particularly coming from here in Armenia and from Baghdad. However, on the flip side of that, these could be possible targets for you. Once you've got yourself up and running, once you've got your armies up and running, once you've got yourself fully settled and ready to go here in terms of your economy and your armies, building up an army here to possibly move against Baghdad if the Ottomans decide to attack you. Because look at the distance between any support that would be coming. If you took Baghdad, you would effectively be taking out and removing sort of the one last sort of vestige of Ottoman power within the region for hundreds and hundreds of miles. Armenia is hundreds of miles away, Syria is hundreds of miles away from Baghdad, so is Palestine. You'd effectively be cutting off the fighting force of the Ottomans to use against you in Persia. And of course, you'd have to be careful of Armenia as well, because any Ottoman force movement from Armenia would be able to attack Azerbaijan. By then, you might be able to have the armies in position, especially from Persia, especially if you get the roads up and running, because the quicker you get the roads infrastructure running, the better it'll be here to move up here. So the Ottomans potentially. What is your position with the Mughal Empire? Friendly. So they're +60 with you. You want to keep that as high as you possibly can, my friends. You want to stay friendly with the Mughal Empire. Marathan Confederacy indifferent. But I would stay away from the Marathan Confederacy unless things change in terms of trade. If it become the dominant power, then you want to look for trade with them. Prussia is indifferent. Austria and France. Great Britain might be a very good trade partner because of them not getting involved in any wars in Europe. Try and stay away from the European empires because, or mainland Europe, should I say, empires, because they do tend to get dragged into wars, which means most of the trade is cut off very quickly. And I've got some of the minor nations as well, but again, Barbary states I wouldn't trade. I'd keep away from Barbary states. You don't want to be linked with them at all. That'll be frowned upon diplomatically. Georgia, of course. You've got New Spain who are unfriendly, but they can be very, very rich, and New Spain's potential there. Venice as well. But personally, if it was me, I'd probably try and get a trade agreement with Britain and with the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire first. You want to try and keep them on your side for as long as you possibly can whilst you build up your empire. Of course, there's also Dagestan here, which you've got trade with. But then that is also a potential point where you can move against in the future. Maybe even Georgia and also Armenia as well. So I would very much leave Russia alone. I don't think you can trade with Russia. No, you can't. But they're indifferent with you anyway, so you want to leave Russia alone until you're at such a point where your armies are so strong you can move into Russia yourself. But you are effectively limited to whom you can move against. I would effectively leave the subcontinent India alone. Let them sort themselves out in terms of the wars that are going to flare up here. Focus on your nearest neighbours here. The Ottomans, Georgia, Dagestan, but particularly the Ottoman Empire. How will they move against you? If they move against you, then at least you know that if you take Baghdad, you're removing one of their great power bases within the region, and also the point from which they're going to strike you from is going to be removed. You could even take Armenia at the same time if you have the forces available. That would then effectively push back any potential forces they're going to move against you. If they move across the Syrian desert to Baghdad, that's going to take a long time. The roads here are minuscule, to say the least. They have to travel along the coast road and then move all the way along through the villages here of Aleppo and then move out in here. And again, there's no roads out here apart from if you just skirt along the Tigris here. So I mean, you know, that's going to take them a long time to get there. By the time they get there, you're going to be in full control of Baghdad and definitely full control of Armenia, because it is at the very tip, the very extremities of the Ottoman Empire here in the Middle East, as it were. In the Urals. So again, if you tactically aware, strategically aware, you can take these regions off the Ottomans and be in a very strong position to move deeper into there, especially into the Middle East. If you take these three cities here, you've got a very, very powerful empire already formed here. So again, that would be my advice to you, my friends. And again, we looked at this, we looked at the ministers, we looked at trade. Trade is going to be vital. You start off with 8,000, which is a fairly good amount, and considering you don't really have much to spend that on in terms of economical sort of infrastructure to start with, you can start building an army, start getting that trade, start improving your empire very, very quickly indeed. The madrasa, of course, the state madrasa here is going to give you a lot of happiness here, convert any of the populace, and also spawn more agents. Now, getting the agents in, getting this agent here, this Hashishin here, into Baghdad to see what's going on would be absolutely crucial. Keep your intelligence gathering apparatus at full strength at all times. Get your research going. So indeed, probably destroy the coffee house, make it a school. Get your research up as quickly as possible. Go down the military tree as quickly as you possibly can as well. Don't forget to go down division of labour, because you'll need that for extra ports and ships. And also look to improve your industrial and economic industries as when you can as well. And I believe, my friends, that is where we are going to end this particular nation's guide here. I think we've covered all the bases here. And of course, because you are sort of locked into between two mighty empires, and there's nothing in here, all you've got is wilderness, the Karakum Desert here. And so you're not going to have to worry about anybody coming down from this way. You're not going to have to worry about Russia, because they'll probably leave you alone. They have their own interests further west. You're not going to be embroiled in any of the wars in the west either. You know, anything that comes along here is pretty much localized to the Ottoman Empire and the Mughal Empire. So in that terms, it's going to be a lot better. Excuse me, my friends. Sorry about that, my friends. I had to take a phone call there. So that is where we end this nation's guide here. And it really is a fascinating... I would really like to do a Persian Empire one day. The challenge of that would be absolutely fantastic. But my friends, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have done a Persian campaign, please let me know how you got on. Please put your comments down below. For those who haven't done it, including myself, to be able to read and to add to that knowledge bank and that pool of knowledge about these different campaigns and different nations that I haven't touched. But I'd love to try do the Persian one sometime in the future. That'll be a wonderful campaign to do. But I hope you've enjoyed it, my friends. If you have, again, please keep your comments coming down. Please be safe, whatever you're doing. But until next time, bye for now.